Hi everyone, Father Scott here, and welcome to Launching into Purpose. I'm so grateful that you are joining us here for this first meeting of our small groups and an opportunity for the larger community, those who aren't yet connected to a small group, to also participate in all that we can glean from thinking about our life's purpose. I think a good starting point would be for us to acknowledge something that religious people tend to believe deeply in, but not know how to talk about. And that is that the invisible world around us is bigger and more real than the visible world that we can see and sense. That's what a person of faith believes, that there is a bigger, more intense, more ultimately real world that is beyond our ability to sense, but that our faith knows about, that our longing reaches out to. And we know from faith that this world is powerful, that it's the real world, that it contains the universe that we are in now, and that God is in charge of it all. The invisible world and the visible world. So that means that all that happens to us in our lifetime is only a part of what life is really all about. Pope John Paul II, now a saint, once said that when God makes life, God makes it for eternity. You can never stop existing once you are alive. So we are part of something larger than our 80 or 90 or, God willing, 100 years that lie as part of our lifespan. We have many, many other dimensions to our life than what we can see. Our life has meaning that stretches far back before our memories, and it has deep meaning well beyond our death. Because we recognize that when God makes life, it never stops existing, that we were made not just for the visible world, but for eternity in the invisible world. When we recognize that, we start to see that death is not the opposite of life, because life has no opposite. There's nothing opposed to life. There's nothing that has the power to potentially defeat life. In the end, life is all there is. God creates life, Scripture says. God did not create death. Death is not real. It's an illusion. So for all of us who are spending all of our time thinking about what matters in life, if what we're thinking about is what happens between now and when we die, we're only focusing on a small part of what life is all about, because our life is not going to end. As it says in the preface that we priests pray at funerals, for all who believe in your love, Lord, life has changed, not ended. When these earthly dwellings of ours turn to dust, an eternal dwelling is made ready for us in heaven. And so that means that we can refocus to see a couple of important things. One of them is that God summoned us here. None of us could have created ourselves. None of us decided the day and the hour when we would be born. None of us decided the circumstances of our birth. God summoned us here to earth. How we participate in that summoning is a mystery that we won't understand until heaven. But we do know that our being here is part of the plan of God. We are not unknown to God. We are beloved. It says in Scripture that before we were even in our mother's womb, God knew us. God knitted us together. God delighted in us in the secret of darkness. So the first thing we know is God summoned us here. We are here by God's divine invitation. And another thing that we know is that everything that we have actually is on loan to us. Everything we have belongs to God. And we take nothing with us when we leave this chapter of living and move on to the next. As my uncle in Troy has often quipped, my Uncle Dan, Scotty, you'll never see a U-Haul following a hearse. We come here naked and without any protection at all, and we leave here without a single shred of possessions. The narrow gate that we will get through into heaven does not even have room for our clothing. We will go just as vulnerable and unphysical as we came at the origin. So once we realize that we were summoned here by God, that we are here at God's invitation, once we realize that everything we have belongs to God, we are presented with the question that the great author C.S. Lewis asked. If there is a God, he asked, what ought a creature's response to that God be? Let's say that we're open to just investigating that there could or couldn't be a God. He said, well, let's just say there is maybe. Maybe there's a God. If there's maybe a God out there, what ought we to do? Isn't that word interesting? What ought we think about? How ought we live? What way ought we respond to God? A lot of us look for signs from God because we want to do what makes the most sense. And we so often are confused because life is so confusing. And so we're often asking, God, what should I do next? God, what's the best plan here? God, I feel lost. What would you have me do? And those are beautiful and holy questions to ask. And I would like to present what one author says is a really powerful idea. Could we admit that we will never have enough signs to feel confident with faith? We're always going to be wanting more signs. You know, a lot of times people will say, Lord, if you're near me, just send me a sign. And then there'll be a rainbow, or there'll be a robin in the yard, or a cardinal, or there'll be, the perfectly timed phone call, or the perfectly timed email. And we'll say, oh God, thank you. But then a little later, we might get a little insecure again. And we might say, okay, God, well, what if that was just a fluke? Can you send me another sign? If I get a double sign, then I'll know for sure. But you can hear how that's getting into an addictive cycle. Doesn't that sound like, well then, if you sent me that double rainbow, then surely you could send me a triple rainbow just to be sure. And that is obviously not going to be a great way for us to stay steady. So instead of asking God for signs, might we consider starting to ask God for commands? If God made us and God knows the true purpose of our life, if God owns everything we've ever been given and is the reason that we have all the loved ones that we have in our life, what ought we to do? Ask for signs? Ask for God to be near us? Or should we ask for God to give us commands and tell us what to do? There was a cute and very sweet bumper sticker in the 60s and the 70s that some people had on their car. And it said, God is my co-pilot. A nice thought. God right there in the cockpit, flying with you. And then in the 12 steps, they have a saying about that very bumper sticker. They say, if God is your co-pilot, maybe you ought to switch seats. If God is your co-pilot, you are putting God in the wrong seat. Put God behind the controls. You don't want God just flying the plane when you just happen to not know what to do. You want God at the helm all the time. Do you see how there's a shift there? Do you see how many religious people would see the bumper sticker, God is my co-pilot, and think, oh, that's so nice. That's so, so nice. But not yet realize that we're called to shift into a higher gear where we don't just allow God to help us when we need help, like a hybrid car engine that gives us some juice from the battery when we're getting low on gas. No, we want God to be at the helm, for God to be at the wheel, for God to be the authority in our life. You know, when you think about it that way, it makes you realize that maybe it's not appropriate for us to always use the pronoun my when we talk about our life. Don't you often say my life? Well, you know, in my life, or to talk about what your plans might be for your life. Well, later in my life, earlier in my life, I'll tell you my goals for my life. And maybe that's a little bit misleading because it fails to acknowledge that it's actually God's. It's actually God's life. When someone dies at a young age, we say his life ended too soon. Everybody understands what we mean by that. And who cannot relate to that feeling? His life, her life. But isn't it true that it's God's life? We spend an awful lot of time thinking that we are living our life. But maybe God's life is living us. Are you living your life? Or are you willing to let God's life live you? Deep questions for us as we open this conversation about God's purposes in our life. May your conversations with those this week be rich. May you be willing to let down your guard and be authentic and vulnerable in all of your connections with the folks in this fellowship. And may all of us come closer to knowing fully what God's intentions are for our life. May God bless you all.